Hello there. My name is Beth Green, and this is Lighting the Way with Beth Green and Friends. And Friends will be coming on a little bit later in this program, but I would like to talk about the topic first and then bring in and on my guests. I'd like to remind you that if you're joining us live on either YouTube or Facebook, if you are on Facebook on my public page, you can leave a comment and I'll see it during the show and we can answer it during the show. And if you're on my private personal page, I will not see your comment until later. I will answer it later, but I can't answer it on the show, can't respond to it. And on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, I will be able to see it. So, anyway, we have a hot topic tonight. And I like to open up this again so I get the question right myself. What power do we really have? And that's a shocking question that demands answers. So I'm going to talk about this, and I think you will very quickly understand what it is that I'm asking and why I think it's important. And Elizabeth said, I really need to feel like we have power. Well, that really depends on us, Elizabeth. And that is really the point. So, first of all, I want to talk about the dangers of the Trump presidency, if you want to call it a presidency. And I have a couple of categories of what those dangers are. You know them, but I'm going to I just like to put them out in the beginning of our show. First of all, he is trying to be a dictator. I mean, seriously, by disempowering any opposition. And what we've been seeing is that he's been attacking judges, the judiciary. He's been threatening to impeach them, that kind of stuff. He is also attacking lawyers and trying to intimidate them. He's attacking students, foreign students at big universities. And that's always the beginning. It always starts with the low hanging fruit. And he's just taking on dictatorial powers. Now, the second thing that he has done that's in those lines is he's trying to make sure there is no free and fair election in 2026 because he will probably find the Republican Party is going to be ousted yet again as it happened the first time. And so he just put out some kind of an executive order, and I haven't had a chance to read it, but I know that it is another executive order attacking voting rights to make it harder for us to vote. And that's pretty serious. And the other way that he does that, of course, is using Elon Musk and threatening to primary people, Democrats, Republicans, if he doesn't like them. So, this is all about becoming a total despot, right? And what he's also done, which has also increased his power, for those of you who are coming on now, I'm just going on to some of the threats that Donald Trump's presidency is presenting to us. And when I get through this part, I'm going to get to the other part, which is about what power do we have, really. He puts these yes people in important positions so that they really have nothing to say. They're not bright or they're not competent. They don't know what they're doing. And that just allows him to push everybody around and tell them what they're supposed to do. And we've seen the most ridiculous example of that recently with this so-called chat, which was on Signal, which is a commercially available texting message talking about war plans, serious war plans that were carried out, and doing it not only on a commercially available network, but also they accidentally invited a journalist. It was horrendous. These people are incompetent. And to be honest with you, Elon Musk is incompetent too. He's not competent to make the government more efficient when he just goes in and fires people. He is not competent. He's not really paring down the government to be more efficient. He's just trying to do a hatchet job. So these are all examples of the threat that he is to us and to democracy, um, and the threat to us. And I just want to finish with this point. He's dismantling all the help that we get, that we have collectively given ourselves. Medicare, he's dismantling Medicaid, he's dismantling Social Security, he's trying to dismantle the United States Post Office, and so many other things. So, all of this is a threat to us. And it's very easy to see that we need to do something about it. I'm not even talking about the deportations, how illegal they are and inhumane. But let's take a look at this at a deeper level. These are the things that he's doing to dismantle our democracy and the few things that we've managed to gain over the years, especially since the New Deal, the Great Depression. But what's underneath that is this intense differential between the haves and the have nots. The income inequality in this nation far surpasses anything in the developed world. I mean, we are the only ones that don't have universal health care, and we have terrible health outcomes. And he's trying to take away everything. So, what does this have to do with anything? Well, these are all ways that income gets redistributed to the rich from the poor. Our resources are being sent up instead of being used for us. Now, you've heard me say a million times that the purpose of an economy and a society is to meet the needs of people on the earth, and he's doing the opposite. Okay, but what is sad is that this is not new. What is sad is we have had this income inequality growing for decades and decades and decades. And when you have income inequality and wealth inequality growing at that pace, what do you think happens? We have more and more inequality of power. And Trump is like the final straw. If he's trying to concentrate all the power in his own hands, it's bad enough we have an oligarchy, but he's trying to put it all in his own hands. But do you see what I'm saying? The real problem is in our economic and social system that has given rise to this disparity of power, that has disempowered people of color, women, gays, trans, everybody really. Ultimately, everyone becomes disempowered except for the very few. Well, and I think they're disempowered too, but they just don't know it and won't admit it. So here's the problem. We can go ahead and fight Trump, and we are fighting Trump in every way that I listed in the beginning. The courts are fighting him. We have to hope and pray that the Supreme Court is going to back the judiciary, that he's blatantly breaking laws. He is blatantly disregarding what the judiciary says. So we're putting pressure there. There's lawsuits and so on. Elon Musk is being attacked by people who are dropping Tesla and so on. People are very angry about the economy and some of the stupid things that he's doing to make himself the king of, not just the king, but the emperor of the world. But what are we going to do to restructure the society that gave birth to this? Now, here's where it really gets sticky, and I want to talk about this. I want to go to the little blurb that's before the show. And I said, what power do we really have? A shocking question that demands answers. And what power do we have to stop him in all of these things? We have lots of power to stop him. We can organize to put in new people if we ever have an election in 2026. By the way, this has already happened in Pennsylvania. In a big Trump place, a Democrat was elected. So people say, gee, I don't know what I can do. You can demonstrate, you can boycott, you can speak up, you can pass out our new Declaration of Independence. You can meet with other people. There are there are a lot of ways to organize it. But how are we going to organize around changing the society that made Donald Trump not only a possibility, but an inevitability? So, in the blurb, I say the power we're discussing does not relate to Republicans versus Democrats, such as how much power do Democrats or progressives have in Congress or state legislatures, where we know that in Congress the Republicans have the majority. But that's not going to last. I mean, that is not going to last. But that isn't. It's like, we don't have any power. I don't mean that. The power we are talking about is more fundamental. What power do we have in today's economy? When multinational deals are made in circles that we don't even know exist, do you think that any of us has a clue as to what's going on behind the scenes with corporate mergers and all kinds of deals that they're making with each other? And Trump got rid of the head of the FTC. The Federal Trade Commission doesn't want to deal with monopolies and all of that. We don't even know where these decisions are being made. But oh well, so what? Oh well, who's thinking about that, right? How much is and I'm just reading you the blurb, not all the explanation, just the questions in the blurb. How much is labor's power feared in a world with growing reliance on tech, including AI? Don't you think that workers are getting more and more anxious that they could be obsolete? AI could make them obsolete. Tech could make them obsolete. Now, workers are not obsolete yet, but everybody is threatened by AI. How much power to strike do we have if we can be replaced by a robot? And of course, we can always be replaced by a scab, but this is a whole other level. And so, how do workers feel? Insecure. Are they saying that? I don't know, but they're not saying it out loud that I'm hearing, but that's a reality. How much power do we have to force change when we are hanging on to the status quo ourselves? And I'm going to get into this more. How much power do we have if we're afraid to risk anything? How much power do we have when we're afraid to utter the word revolution or confront our own thinking and even conceptualize what we want? How much power do we have to actually overturn the society and economy we have co created through our cooperation or acquiescence? That's what I'm talking about. So there are these problems that I was talking about that, okay, labor may feel insecure. And also, we're so divided, black and white and immigrant and undocumented and documented. I mean, we saw the Hispanic vote going to Trump, and Trump ends up, he's deporting people who are legal, or he's trying. So all this division, of course, has disempowered us. But I'm talking about us now. How much power do we have if we are too afraid to do anything? And now, what do I mean when I say that? Well, think about it. We put out a new Declaration of Independence, and we would love you to sign that. Take a look in the blurb. If you haven't signed it already, there's a link, and you can go there and you can see what it says. And it says that we have the right to institute a government that supports life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is right in the original Declaration of Independence. But then it also goes on to put out a shared vision of what we want and what we are willing to fight for. But that means like cooperatives and putting workers into power positions in corporations, and much more that we're talking about. Every one of these things would disrupt society. Are we ready to disrupt society? I have been shocked to talk to people who are theoretically on the left or who are progressive. They don't want to ask for anything. All they're doing is resisting Trump. Oh, yeah. I mean, even Bernie, whom I love, thank God Bernie is going around the country with AOC. But what is he saying? Stop the oligarchs. He's not saying overturn the capitalist system of 21st century that has created this. This system is now so corrupted. It's so empowered. It's so extreme. The differences in power that we have to be willing to change that if we're going to change anything. And aren't we afraid? I'm afraid. It's like I say, oh my God, somebody's going to take my house away and I'm going to be, I'll be on the street. Or because we know what revolution looks like, right? The French Revolution or the. And so we all have fears. We all have fears of that we are going to lose the little we have. And you see, that is exactly how they disempower us. People have been afraid to go on strike because they don't want to lose X, Y, or Z, or they'll go along with, labor leaders have gone along and gone along and gone along with bosses because they're afraid to go on strike. They might lose their jobs, or they might just, if they ask for too much, they might not get it. And then see where we have been bought. We have been bought into. We have bought into this system. We've been told, oh, we're in the richest nation of the world. Look how great it is to be in the US of A. I mean, we now see, Bernie put out a statistic recently about the difference in the lifespan of a regular person in the United States and a wealthy person is 7 years. 7 years. And they're taking away the health care we have. We already have an inadequate health care system. The ACA doesn't do it. We need universal health care just like everybody else has who's in the developed world. We need security. We need shorter work weeks. We need parental leave. I mean, they're fighting out whether or not Congress people can vote by proxy when they've just had a baby. Insane. They're trying to take away everything. And these things we're told, yeah, but look, the blacks are taking it from you, or the immigrants are taking it from you. Not that the billionaires are taking it from you, or that the capitalist system day after day takes it from you. So what power do we have? Only as much as we are willing to take the risks to go for what we want. And if we don't, we are going to go down the tubes. Maybe we'll be able to stop some of what dumb Trump has done. Dumb as Trump. But we are not going to change the system that has allowed this to happen. And maybe we're going to lose our democracy as well. So that's what I have to say. And now I'd like to bring on my guests. And first of all, there's James Maynard.
Hello.
Secondly, there's Lizzie Treehart.
Hi.
Tonight, we also have Todd Benton. And
Hello.
I guess Amy couldn't be with us tonight. So, okay. First of all, how do you feel about what I've said? Yes, James.
Well, I'm happy to have the information. I'm reminded of the phrase, knowledge is power. When I was growing up, I was ignorant. I was brainwashed into thinking this is the only way it's supposed to be. I had no idea that the rich were getting richer and richer and richer off of this capitalist system, and the workers were getting flatlined in their income. My own father was a blue-collar worker, and he struggled mightily just to make ends meet for the family. When if we had a different system, and now that you're talking, and now that we're seeing more of what's possible, if there was more of a sharing of the wealth and the power, you made reference about how maybe workers should have more power. You know, I've talked about this once before on the show. In Germany, by law, large corporations have to have at least 50% of the board of directors members, workers, employees of the corporation. Now, our union movement didn't ask for that. Our union movement just asked for wages and better benefits.
More money, more money, more
Yeah,
money.
we missed the boat. And now we got to rewrite the course and regain that power. And also, I've learned the lesson not to try to do it alone. I practiced law as a solo practitioner. And over, I got outgunned by law firms that had more people, more resources to bring to bear to each and every case. And that's a lesson for me in what we're talking about. Alone, I can't do much, but together we can do a whole lot more. I'm going to be joining in these protest rallies that are coming up, and I'm going to be continuing to circulate the new Declaration of Independence and other information that we've been talking about. In numbers, there is strength. I think we need each other to come together around a shared vision, a common vision, like you've talked about, cooperative, not competitive, not capitalistic, but cooperative, employee-owned, employee-controlled, where we own it all. And then we share the wealth as needed to reward people to meet all of their needs.
I don't know as a fact that there weren't people in labor who were fighting for power in these corporations. I'm not saying you're wrong, James. I'm just saying I don't know that that's whether or not that's true, if there were or there weren't, because a lot of the more radical people were arrested under all kinds of charges. You know, this isn't the first time we have seen authoritarianism in our country. We saw it before. We've seen the crackdowns on dissent before. The House Un-American Activities Committee, Senator McCarthy, before that, attacks on the union movement. People, you know, the Pinkertons were a special force of armed men to put down the union movement. The attacks on the women's suffrage movement, and so on. By the way, could you open our new Declaration of Independence uh, while we're going on with the show, James, because I would like to highlight some
I
of
don't know
the.
how to share a screen. Maybe Todd could do that.
No,
Yeah,
I'm just
add
saying,
share screen. She's just asking you to bring it up so that you have it
right,
there.
so you could read
I
it.
could do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be great.
Okay.
So,
I have it open also, if that's helpful.
oh, good. Well,
How's that?
then, Todd, you can read it. So, what I'm talking about the section where we talk about what we want. When I said in this thing, we don't dare say the word revolution. But do we need anything less than a revolution to change this? I mean, a
No.
revolution, I don't necessarily mean people going out with guns and bashing each over the head. I mean a revolution, a change, a fundamental change in the way we treat one another and our society. You read, people are happiest in places where they feel secure, when they have neighbors who are supportive, when they live in a place where they are now talking about taking away Social Security. For Christ's sake, we're going back to the 1930s. It's unreal. But it's all being enabled by this disempowerment of our population because we've been bought off. We were told, like James is saying, this is the best of all possible worlds. Everybody wants to come here. Well, right now, a lot of us don't even want to be here. So,
And fewer people want to come here too.
and fewer people want to come. They say, oh, yeah, that's because of tough border security. I think that people don't want to come here because they don't want to come here. So, anyway, Todd, can you read?
Yeah, I can read the section that you're talking about. The
Yeah.
What are we for?
Yes.
Sure. What are we for? The original Declaration of Independence says we have the right to institute a new government. What would that look like? We declare that the purpose of any society and economy is to care for people and the earth. And that's what we want. Our current economic and social system is not geared to caring for people and the earth. It's geared toward creating a profit for the rich. We want a society that cares for us, and we want a government that fights for that. Our current economic system is anti-democratic and leads to the wealth inequality that is underlying the current power grab by the economic elites, the billionaire oligarchs and large corporations who are taking over our government. To have real political democracy, we need economic and social democracy as well. To that end, we will fight for long-term change. This is what a truly representative government should do. 1. Wake up our fellow Americans. 2. Gather people together to talk about our needs, from farmers to parents to teachers to students to clerical workers to the poor, disabled, elderly, and even the well-to-do. What do we really need? Create a social safety network that is real and meaningful. Address our widespread mental health crisis, not only in terms of individual suffering, but in terms of the lack of a safety network that causes stress for everyone. Reaffirm the values of caring and compassion, underlining that we are one. Remind ourselves that people who don't have money can't buy our products, that people who have no health care can't work or can infect others, that people who have no stake in society can become a threat to us all. Reaffirm that our strength comes from all of us supporting one another to reach our potential. Get money out of politics and repeal the disastrous Citizens United decision. Enforce strict campaign financing regulations. Use the powers of government to encourage the formation of economic cooperatives in all kinds of businesses. Demand that employees have equal or greater power in the boards of directors of all major corporations. Create a single-payer healthcare system that covers everyone. Create limits on CEO pay and profits, and strengthen those government agencies by being gutted by this administration, whose purpose is to protect workers and consumers. Establish legal rights for the millions of immigrants who work in this country and support the society and economy. Strengthen laws that promote diversity and inclusion, and repeal laws that discriminate against women and minorities. This would include the reestablishment of Roe v. Wade. Become a stand for democracy again, opposing autocrats around the world. Make serious strides towards combating climate change, which will otherwise destroy us all.
Thank you, Todd. So this is the kind of thing that we're talking about, and I don't see people on the left saying this. I don't see our fellow progressives going out there and saying, this is what we want. They're saying, oh, resist Trump, resist Trump, resist. But we have to change. We have to change inside. We have to have the guts to risk everything, or it's likely that we will lose. So would you like to comment, Todd? I appreciate
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do feel the fear, but I agree with James that, like, when we're in connection with other people, then it doesn't, like, I went to the empty chair town hall that we had here in San Diego, North County, and Escondido. There were nearly 1,000 people that showed up.
Tell us about what is that?
Daryl Issa, an empty chair town hall is when we invite a Republican congressman to host a town hall meeting and they decline.
In their own district.
In their own district. Daryl Issa, my congressman, hasn't held a town hall meeting since 2017. And we know why. He's the wealthiest person in Congress. He's worth over $500 million. And he just doesn't want to face it, you know? So they called him chicken, but they had other people in our community, school board members, and people asked the questions that they would have asked him, and those people answered those questions. And it got on the CBS Evening News here in San Diego. So it got coverage, and even Rachel Maddow played the whole clip on her show. So people are seeing like this uprising of energy. I mean, it was very energetic and on fire. And they weren't talking about everything that you spoke about there, but there was like, what can we do? So there was a spirit of like what we want, what we're for in the messaging and what people were saying. So that was really cool. And it was exciting to feel a part of that, of that energy. And that helps me to like realize, okay, yes, there's fear. We could get in jail or, I mean, we're not right this moment though. So let's keep going. And then if we have to, if we face that, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. They're not, I know they're putting some people, there have been things to be afraid about, but like I said, I think if we band together, there's only so far they can go.
Well, we'll have to see just how far they will go.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, leave not giving people any due process. That's pretty alarming.
Pretty alarming. Pretty
Yeah.
disobeying judges' orders.
Right.
Is pretty alarming.
Yeah.
Claiming all kinds of bullshit, lying through their teeth, trying to buy the. They tried to buy the Supreme Court, Wisconsin Supreme Court election. Elon Musk was offering $100. I forget exactly for what, but yeah, no, I think what you're saying is right. We have that energy is there, but we also need to take leadership in that. I don't know if you stood up in that meeting and you said, here's the new Declaration of Independence. I'd like
I
you to.
didn't, because I wasn't on the list. I didn't realize I wish I would have understood and put my question in earlier, because I didn't get how
you could participate.
Yeah, how I could participate. But I did give it to people around me.
Great.
Yeah. So
Great.
and I'm going to continue. I'm going to go to the march, and I'll be in next weekend and be more prepared this time to, talk with people and get there early and, have some discussion.
That's really great. On March 5th, also, April 5th, we're having, there's this hands-off movement.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to. It's nationwide, so it's in every major city. Yeah.
James is going to be doing that in Corvallis. I just can't physically do that.
Sure.
But yeah, but what I'm saying is we have to be willing to take risks. You're talking about one level of risk. Okay, could I be arrested? Well, how scary is that? Well, unless you're going to El Salvador, but it's not a pleasant prospect, obviously. But
yeah, I'm not really that afraid about that.
No.
And there's nothing that, as a white man, that I'm that afraid of at this moment. So that gives me a little bit of fuel to go out there. Like, what are they going to do to me? I'm a white guy.
Well,
they could. They have.
But that's not the immediate threat. But what I'm saying is, yes, I understand all that. But much deeper than that is our own fear of upsetting the status quo.
Sure, losing what we have. Yeah.
Because we bought into it.
Yeah. Christine and I are in a good financial position because of the careers, the jobs we have. And, that's what sucks about this whole thing is like we stand to benefit from what Trump is doing. I don't know. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's, yeah.
Well, we don't.
Yeah.
We could lose our Social Security.
Yeah.
What could happen to Medicare? But it's also what happens with all the people around, the people who are deported, who aren't, farming,
right.
Who aren't taking care of the food. They're taking away healthy lunches from children. What about
There's so many risks. Like you said, the risks in the new declaration, the risk of some kind of pandemic or something like that, because people aren't getting the care they need, the vaccines. So we're already seeing what's happening with measles.
Exactly. And the avian flu.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And, when is HIV going to come roaring back? Around the world, we've stopped taking care of communicable diseases.
Right.
But we have got to be willing to risk what we have for what we want. It reminds me of being in an abusive relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a marriage.
Yeah.
An abusive or having an abusive boss. And you're so afraid to lose your job that you take the abuse for 5, for 10, for 15 years. And what has happened to you in the meantime is you become, you're messed up, you're numb, you're damaged.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have been programmed to take abuse.
Yeah.
On an emotional level from their families. And to be able to say, I am going to risk, that horrible story about that guy in Connecticut, that 32-year-old that his stepmother kept him in a tiny cage from the age of 3 and didn't feed him.
Wow, I don't
And,
know someone, but
yeah, he's 5'9". He weighed, I think it was 62 pounds. And he finally got out by setting a fire. And somehow they found him and rescued him. And, you think about how damaged this human being is, but he took a risk
mhm.
to light that fire in order to get out from the age of 3 to 32. It's unreal. Yes, James?
I'd like to offer something that might be of some source of reassurance for people, and that is if you're in a protest rally and you're exercising freedom of speech and freedom of assembly and you get arrested, you're not at the mercy of whoever arrested you. You have an absolute right to an attorney. You can either have your own attorney or you can have one appointed for you. And then you're going to go before a judge who is supposed to follow the rule of law. Says, wait a minute, this person was just exercising their constitutional right. Let him go.
Yeah, but James, yeah, what you're saying is absolutely true.
That's the most likely outcome.
But then we see what's happened to these Venezuelans who were just picked up and just
That's different. Yeah.
taken to El Salvador, and other people who have green cards, who are legal residents of the United States, are having their green cards revoked. And what's happening to due process there?
Yeah, we've got
And
to speak out for them too,
exactly,
so
we
that
have
it
to
doesn't
speak
come
out.
to us that way.
Exactly. And then it's the same thing with students who are from other nations who are exercising free speech, who are having their visas revoked. So it sounds great, but that we have a history in this country of depriving marginalized people of due process.
Yes.
And as I was arrested many times in my, when I was in the movement in the back in the day, and what they would do it was they would accuse me of doing something terrible, which of course I was couldn't even physically do, in order to get out of having to face up to the fact that they illegally arrested me. And they tried to, in one case, they told me that I had to sign away my Miranda rights. Otherwise, I was going to rot in jail. And that means that a lawyer, that they refused to give me a lawyer. So, I mean, it can get pretty hairy. And
Yeah.
it already is pretty hairy for a lot of people who are going through it right now. But ultimately, it comes right down to it. Do you want to keep seeing your rights eroded, your power eroded? Do you want to sell yourself out to the lowest bidder, or what are you willing to risk? I'm asking it in a very honest way. What are we willing to risk? Am I willing to risk having my life disrupted because I'm calling for something that could disrupt the way we do things in the economy? And where is that going to fall? See, it's not just that the Trump administration is going to come after us, but when you disrupt society, you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And people are afraid of that. So it's more reason that we just shut up. Lizzie, I'm sure you have something to say.
Yeah, you didn't see my hand up earlier, so.
No, no, it's hiding behind the nameplate.
No, I had it up over here,
Oh,
but that was before you had Todd read that.
oh, okay. Thank you.
So, I definitely feel fear. I'm in a gay marriage and they're going to be going after that. So, I'm not necessarily afraid of being deported, but I guess there's a fear
You
of,
can't be deported.
yeah, where am I going to go from here?
Deported to where? You're from
Um,
here.
but just looking at other people, I have been talking to other people about this, and some are like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the needs of people on the earth, but I don't see people motivated to like do something and to come together. And it's like, we need to do something. Like, the fear is that, I'm afraid too many people are going to just stay docile and just not do anything. And, what will happen then? I don't want to go there. I am doing things. I am talking to people, and, I'll be going to the march as well. And but then on the flip side, I have to believe at the same time that there's enough goodness in people that we will come together and support each other. And I read, there was a post that I saw the other day, and this was about agriculture. Thousands of years ago, on like 24 different continents, all of a sudden, even though people didn't have communication with each other, all of a sudden they were growing crops. So they started getting away from hunting and gathering to growing crops, and it's like boom, all of a sudden. So what's really been on my mind lately is, okay, there's some, we are all connected, and just that light, or that, whatever connection, that enough of us wake up, that it's going to boom. Everybody's going to be like, oh, what's going on? Hey, let's stop this. Let's do something. So I have to keep that in the forefront of my mind. It might seem crazy, but that's what.
There's actually nothing crazy about it. It's the 100th monkey theory.
Yes.
Right? And it isn't crazy. And the Arab Spring, remember that happened. See, I think that when people say, well, I'm afraid that not enough people, what are other people doing? It's like, let's just tell them, look, this is a rationalization for your own fear. Because it's people like us who don't do anything who make that be so. So is that your rationalization? I'm not going to do anything because I think that she won't or he won't. If everybody is doing that, right? It's like everybody's pointing to everybody. And Todd just gave a wonderful example of the empty chair meeting that they had in Darrell Ice's district. I mean, he's been elected. Obviously, it's a Republican district. He's a very sleazy guy. But you see, what I'm saying is, when you hear people say things like that, you just look at them and say, what are you really afraid of? Why are you pointing the finger at somebody else, what they're not doing? You see people in the streets. You see a lot of people fighting. You see a lot of people in the streets. So to sit here and say, oh no, I mean, I remember the days when nobody was fighting for anything, and you really could throw your hands up. But no, this is an excuse, because there's a lot of people fighting back on many levels, which I talked about in the beginning, right? The judiciary, people in the streets, people who are boycotting Target and Tesla and all of these things. So that's a rationalization for your fear. What is your fear? So you might use some of your skills in helping them to look at themselves. And you're not afraid of being deported. You might ask yourself, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? This is a really important part. And I'm not saying this in a confrontational, adversarial way. I mean, what are you afraid of? I was willing to admit that I'm a little afraid of how my life would be disrupted. I'm old, I'm sick, I need peace, I need air conditioning. Supposing for the revolution, I have to live without air conditioning. It's like, oh, I'm going to die. Well, I probably would. So anyway, oh well. But I'm saying that, I'm willing to look at what I'm afraid of. And I think we all need to get honest about what we are afraid of.
Well, I think it's, am I going to be forced to not live a gay life?
No, you're not afraid of that. Even in the bad old days, people lived gay lives and said, screw you. Come on, Lizzie. You think they're going to go into every bedroom in America and say, oh, you're gay, you're going to jail? I mean, that there are too many gays in Congress for that. So I don't think that's it. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you tell yourself to scare yourself into submission. So I don't know, maybe you don't have the answer right now, but I want you to confront that. What is it that I am afraid of? What are you afraid of losing? What are you afraid of risking? Sometimes it's as simple as, I don't want people to not like me. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It could be anything.
Yeah. I'm sure that's in there for me.
Yeah, well, we've been out there and people don't like me. So, oh well.
Well, I don't know if there would be with this AI development, this huge package that Trump signed into, however, $500 billion or $1 trillion. I think there's always going to be a need for people to help others with their pain, not a robot.
Yes. It's not likely that they'll be able to replace a physical therapist with a machine.
But they can take away the insurance that pays for it.
They can. So
that's a fear that I have, that there's not going to be.
That's a fear of what Trump might do. I'm talking about a fear of the fear of going out there and fighting for what you believe in.
Confronting. So this happened last week. I was at a gathering and I had an opportunity. I met with a couple, was talking with a couple that are from another country that are here. She's here on a green card. And I started talking to her about it. And I brought up, gosh, it's kind of scary with people being deported. And another gentleman, not part of the conversation, interjected and just attacked me. And I just shut down. Now, so I'm afraid I'm not going to stand up to that type of energy.
Well, no, you're afraid of standing up to that kind of energy.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
I think that's what you mean. So yes. That's so much better than saying, I'm afraid that he's going to come after gay marriage. You're talking about you. This is really what this show is about tonight. It's about what are you afraid to risk? And you're afraid to risk your personal safety. I don't know what. I mean,
it's not like he was going to physically attack me or anything. There's enough people around I don't think he would have done that anyway, but I don't know, because, and it could be going back to growing up, I didn't want my dad to yell at me. I'd rather have him spank me than yell at me. And here's a guy who's, big statured, who, he taught the class that I attended that evening. So he was kind of in this authoritarian, person of authority role. And so I didn't want to create any waves.
You're afraid to stand up to the authority figure because of your childhood. Yes. Perfect. Well, now you can get rid of all the other rationalizations and start into them, because now you know what to work on. And James, I didn't hear yours. I didn't hear Todd's.
Well, you've seen how I have fear of standing up to authority figures too.
Yes.
I have that too, Lizzie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's going to happen to us, James?
Well, we got to buck up and speak up. If it's just because a person has a certain appearance of authority or real authority.
Well, I don't know if
you got to speak up to defend yourself and to speak up for what you believe.
It might be more than just bucking up, though. We have to bring some healing as to why we have that pattern.
Yeah, that's true too. But in the moment, do what you can.
But what Lizzie is saying is, if we're really going to take seriously what I'm talking about tonight, we have to look at what we are afraid of and confront it. And I have fears about my survival because I'm so fragile, that if there was a disruption, it's like, well, but it's not going to stop me. It's not going to stop me. I don't.
Good for you.
My survival is not more important than everything else on the planet. So, and of course I'm old. So, but this is what now, Lizzie, you're really getting to it, and I think you have to deal with this too, James. What is your fear of authority? What's it going to do, and why is it still running you? And Todd, what would you like to chime in here?
I don't know. I need some help on this one. I could say authority also, given my upbringing and my dad and how, dominating he was. I'm sure that's a fear, but I don't know if that's the fear.
Well, it's a good one to start with. It's what I think for you in that respect, and I'm not saying that there aren't other things to talk about. It's the fear of feeling small.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like when you're with somebody you feel dominated by, they somehow make you feel like that child again.
Mm-hmm.
That you feel small, and You don't feel like you have the power to do anything about it.
Right, to fight back or to to do anything. I just have to accept it. Like you said, I mean, I resonated with you saying those people that accept the abuse. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's right. And that's a good thing to see, because going back to the point that James and you brought up, when you're with others, it's not so scary, because
True.
you see that the whole world isn't against you. People are against him.
Hmm.
You know, people
Well,
are speaking up. People are attacking, Elon Musk's behavior. Um, we have to go beyond just being angry and resisting, as I keep saying over and over. But you're not alone. And when you were a child, you were alone. And, James, when you were a child, there was a lot of irrationality in your family. And there was nothing you could do because you couldn't reason with it. But and there's a lot of irrationality in our country. But you don't have to face this alone. And neither do you, Lizzie. So I think we've done enough for tonight.
Hmm.
I'm glad we got to this point, because I think now you're really getting it. Like when you said in the very beginning, Lizzie, in your comment, I really need to feel like we have power. Well, we do have power, but only if we use it.
yes. And not just resisting.
Right. And everybody has power if we are together. As I said in one of our other shows, the king only has the power that we give him. So, anyway, thank you for coming tonight. Would you please give this show a thumbs up on YouTube, or a like or a love on Facebook? Share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Write in your comment if you're listening later. And follow us on Facebook, particularly on my public page, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And come back next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time for Lighting the Way for another who knows what discussion. Thank you for coming, and thank you guys for participating tonight.
Thank
Bye.
you.